I think I got everything set up. Make sure. All right, good. We'll be getting started in 1 second. Just let me know you're here and that everything is working. Say hello in the chat. Let me know what part of the country you're in, so we can get going. People are coming in still. Let me get that set up. Where's that at? There we go. All right, we're going to get started in about another 1 minute. I'm just going to give people a chance to get in here, and then we're going to get going. Dennis from Texas. All right, Dennis. I've seen you. Dennis, good to see you. Nicole from Oakland, California. All right, very nice. Oakland, California. Your market is crazy right now because you are in California. Oakland is actually pretty good. So I'm familiar with the markets, a lot of the markets, because I deal with a lot of people in different markets. So we'll be getting started in 1 second. So have any of you tried to finance real estate deals recently? Felicia from Maryland. Good to see you, Felicia. Have any of you all tried to finance real estate deals recently, or how did that go for you? Have you had any success with it? Let's see. Update. This should be running. Okay, let's see. I think I should see it now. Next streaming. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. Okay, no, you haven't. All right, good. Well, that's fine. I'm gonna show you how you can do that pretty quickly and get deals going. And we can kind of get into that and show you how that whole process works. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. In this training, we're going to be talking about how to stop letting money hold you back. If you feel money is holding you back, this is going to be groundbreaking for you because it's going to let you see that money is not the issue when you're trying to buy real estate. It is actually not that big of an issue. All right, let's see. Let's get into this. It's not that big of an issue. I don't know why I can't get my Instagram to go live. All right, we'll get it. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Go ahead and get started. Tonight we're going to be talking about financing. So how to stop letting money hold you back from real estate and what that looks like. So first thing we do is we're going to start all the way at the beginning, and I mean that to say, I want to make sure we're all on the same page when we start talking about real estate. We use what's called the quick turn process. Now, there are a lot of ways to make money in real estate. And I know there are a lot of people that get on these calls, and you've seen people on calls and they tell you how they do all these different things. They do group homes, they do this, that, and the other, all these different ways to make money in real estate. And I'm not saying that those don't work. There are a lot of ways to make money in real estate. What I am telling you is that with all of those ways to make money, you need to pick one way to actually make money. You can try to do it a bunch of different ways. You can try to get into a bunch of different stuff. But the problem is a lot of people get started in 16 different ways and then they never actually do anything because they never started on one specific process. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a process no matter where you start at. And the sooner you pick one and go at that one, the better off you are because you can get started, you can actually see it working, and you'll learn the problems and the headaches and everything that go along with any specific way you go. So the process is one of the ways that will help you with financing and how to get your financing together, choosing the right process. The thing about Quick Turn is it is a fast and simple and easy way to get started. We are not holding properties. We are not renting properties out. We are not rehabbing properties. We are buying them and then turning around and quickly selling them. So that's one of the things that's different from us. And what that does is that protects you from a couple of things. It protects you from the market changing and numbers like turning around and crashing, and then you don't know what you can do. And then it also protects you from getting into a deal and putting $20,000 into the rehab, and then you can't get out of the deal, and it becomes a whole headache and a whole problem. You won't have those issues with what we're going to talk about and what we're doing. Okay, so that's one of the biggest things that'll make it easier for you to choose. The next thing is tonight we're going to talk about how to fund deals without your own money. Now, I'm not going to say you can do deals without your own money all the time. Sometimes you will need to spend a little bit of your money. The most important deal that you do in real estate is going to be, hey, Santos, good to see you. The most important deal that you can do in real estate is the deal that you start off on, the first one you do. When you do the first deal, that's going to be the biggest one because that's the scariest one. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if you can get your money together. You don't know how you're going to finance it. It's not as hard as you think if you follow the process we're going to lay out tonight. Tonight, we're going to discuss how to get those deals, how to finance them, and how to easily know that you can finance everything so you don't have a big whole issue of how do I get money for deals. We're going to talk about doing it with one of four processes. So, specifically on financing deals, we're going to be talking about only four ways to finance almost every deal. You don't need 20 ways. You don't need to be creative and do all of these subject to and all this other stuff. That works if you don't have the right deals. I'm going to show you how to get profitable deals and then turn around and sell those deals quickly. And you can do it with one financing source out of these four. So it makes it very easy. It's hard to mess up and it's not going to be that much trouble. Okay. Now, most investors think when they get into real estate, their first thing is that money is going to come first. They think that I got to have the money. I got to know exactly how I'm going to finance this deal, how I'm going to do it. And that is what's going to get me to my deal and what's going to make me successful, getting to the money first. Money is not your biggest issue. The biggest myth is I need money before I can invest. That is just not completely true. You need some money. Money helps. It doesn't hurt, but it is not going to be the biggest factor to your success. What actually matters is your knowledge and how you structure your deals. In a few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about lenders and what they actually really want when they're doing a deal with you, because it is not that you have a lot of money. Lenders don't care if you have a lot of money. Lenders don't care that much if you have great credit. I'm not going to say they don't care at all. It's just the right lenders. A lot of people are going through traditional routes when they look for financing, and that's what's slowing you down. You just have to find the right lenders. Real estate is built on leverage, not savings. Nobody in real estate says, how much have you saved up before we'll talk to you about doing a deal? Maybe on a traditional deal, but not when you're doing investing. So we're going to talk about that. You only need to know how funding works. Hey, Ronald, good to see you. You only need to know how funding works. Once you know how funding works and why lenders fund deals, you'll be able to see that this isn't that hard. Funding is one of the easiest parts of solving. The bigger challenge that when people get into working with us and when we show them how to build a business, the bigger challenge is getting them to overcome different things they thought in their mind, like how much they're going to spend, how much they're going to spend on marketing, how long does marketing take? What is marketing going to, it's just a bunch of different things. Funding and financing is not the biggest issue. Okay. Tonight's goal, we want to remove the fear around financing. Now, just by a show of hands, or you can say me, how many of you all are thinking that funding is what's stopping you from going into real estate? How many of you all want to get into real estate, but think that the reason you can't is because your credit isn't where it needs to be? You don't have money for a down payment. You're not sure what you're going to do. Is that what's holding you back? Because if so, then you are at the right place and this is going to help you. Okay. So let's talk about the simple strategy that doesn't require you to be rich. Okay, good. Very good. So this is not, you're going to learn a very important lesson tonight that's hopefully going to help you and push you farther and get you farther along in your process. And I think that most people will be very happy with this. Okay. So first thing is, here's the process. You buy it, you own it, and then you sell it fast. Now, that goes against conventional wisdom because I'm sure a lot of you have heard of wholesale. And with wholesale, you're thinking that, hey, I got to buy it. I got to keep it or put it under contract, and then I'm going to turn around and sell it. I don't actually own it. Or you're thinking of rehabbing where you buy it, and then you turn around and do some work on it. You'd say, okay, I'm going to quickly sell it that way. This is you buy it, you sell it, and then you sell it fast. It's kind of a hybrid between wholesale and retail investing, but it works really well. Next is no rehabs, no tenants, or long holds. Now, I'm not telling you don't have to do this. I'm telling you should not do this. You should not be doing a rehab on your property. You don't need to. If you buy it right, you don't need to rehab at all. And I'm going to talk to you about that. You don't have to deal with tenants. The only tenants that we typically deal with are tenants when we're trying to get rid of a property and we've inherited a tenant. So somebody that the old owner had a tenant already in the house and we want to get rid of that tenant or we want to sell it to that tenant. That's the only time we deal with tenants. We're not screening tenants. We're not trying to see who has the best security deposit, who has 3 times the income. That's not our job. And finally, no long holds. We don't have any part of our strategy that requires us to hold the property for very long. It just does not make sense and it's not necessary. And there's too many X factors. You've seen what's going on in the economy today. We don't know where housing is going to be in 5 years. So I don't want to hold the property and then hopefully it's worth more in 5 years. So no long holds. We're going to know that our numbers are solid today and sell it today. Now, the next thing is you're going to use financing the right way. When you use financing the right way, lenders will bend over backwards to give you money. And I mean that in all sincerity. They will bend over backwards. The problem is most people don't have a good deal and they wonder why lenders don't want to loan them money. And the simple answer is because your deal isn't that good and you're asking them to take a huge risk when there's no reason for them to take this huge risk because of the fact it doesn't benefit them. You want to make it so that it benefits both you and the lender, if that makes sense. Okay. That's the biggest thing. Then we want to get in fast, we want to get out, and we want to learn about fast learning equals fast profit. This process is not hard. It doesn't take a rocket science to do it. It just takes you actually taking action and doing it. Okay. We use this to bridge into commercial real estate. So once you start making some money in single family real estate, you can go into commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is your long term money. I honestly don't feel that single family real estate is the best way to generate short term or to generate long term wealth. Single family real estate is not a long term investment to me. It is if you're going to live in the house, that's fine. Because you're getting the benefit of living there. If you're buying it to rehab it or do any of that stuff, this is definitely not the best way to get long-term wealth. There are much better ways, and they usually are around commercial real estate. We're not going to talk about that directly today, but that's how we're going. We're going from single family and then using that money in commercial, and there's a bunch of benefits with that. So let's talk about how speed and leverage are greater than savings, okay? Greater than the money. You don't need 20% down. Now, how many of you all thought that you needed 20% down to buy property, to get into a deal? You needed 20%. That is not the case, okay? You don't need full bank approval. When you know how to set your deals up, you will either not use a bank or you will use a bank and they don't care about you. They care about the deal. And this is not hard money lenders. I'm going to talk to you about something different. The funding follows good deals. If you have a good deal, I guarantee you, you will be able to get financing for your good deal. The problem comes when you have a bad deal and you are trying to make it make sense for your lender. And we're going to talk about how that looks in just a second. People fund deals, not dreams. This is important for some of you all because as you learn some of the stuff I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, you're going to tell people your dreams. And it's okay for you to dream. It is not okay for you to tell people your dreams and expect them to give you money because of your dreams. People don't fund dreams. They fund deals. Show them an actual deal. And the only way for you to do that is for you to start and get a deal under your belt and then get funding. Okay. Quick turn structure is designed for beginners. What we do is not designed where you have to be a seasoned, validated investor. If you are, that's great. In fact, you're actually at a slight disadvantage if you're a seasoned investor. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times you're going to have to let go of some stuff that you were probably kind of holding on to that you figured was important or this is the way you should do it. The sooner you can let that go, the sooner you can be better off when you follow this process. Okay. Now, the traditional versus non-traditional financing, which should beginners use? Now, I'm sure you all know about traditional financing, using a bank, going to a mortgage broker. Non-traditional, you might have heard of creative financing. Which one is best for a beginner? Well, the answer is actually surprising. Traditional banks are typically slow and strict and very credit heavy. That's what they usually are. They're kind of credit heavy. They want you to jump through a lot of hoops. I'm sure you've seen this where you deal with the bank and they want you to give all your paperwork. They need your blood type. They need to know everything about you before they will actually do a deal with you. So that's what you're looking at with traditional banks. But some people like going through traditional banks because that's what they know. Private lenders. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with private lenders. Private lenders are fast and flexible, and there's a way to get an unlimited. There are way more private lenders out in the world than there are banks. There are much more private lenders, and there's one source of private lending that is guaranteed. It is very low risk, and there's a very strong chance that they're going to say yes and work with you. So private lenders are fast and flexible. And here's the beautiful thing about private lenders. You set the terms, and they don't care about any of your credit or any of that stuff, okay? Commercial lenders. These are lenders that focus on deal-based approvals. They want to see that you actually have a deal and that deal is beneficial to them. In other words, if you do this deal and it works right, then they will make a profit and they will want to do business with you. If you do this deal and it goes wrong, their downside is limited and it's less risky for this. Okay. Hey, Jamie from Fresno, good to see you. So it'll be less risky for you if that's the case with a commercial lender, because they want to make sure that they're covered, and they want to make sure even if you don't know what you're doing, they're still covered. And we're going to talk about that. Seller financing, no banks at all. You don't use any banks. And seller financing is one of the biggest banking processes in the world. You just have to know how to approach the seller right. And it's a very simple way to do it, but there's a secret thing you cannot say to sellers. And then, what, in my opinion, most beginners should avoid banks. What does that look like? That kind of deal, and how to identify when you see it. I will get to that in 1 second. I'll answer that at the end of the question. I'll take questions at the end of this, so I'll answer that question. Good question, by the way. Most beginners should avoid banks early, and I say that if you are lacking credit or you don't have down payment money, then you might want to avoid banks. But here's the thing: as soon as you do your first deal, you will qualify for some commercial lenders, and you probably can go from there with commercial lenders. Commercial lenders are different. We use them very heavily, and it's a very strong way to use it, as well as seller financing, private lenders, and even some traditional banks. Okay, traditional financing, when it works and when it doesn't. The truth about banks. Banks require credit and income. Now, if you don't know, the reason they require this credit and income is because they don't know if you know what you're doing. People come to banks all the time with an idea. Here's what I want to do. I want to find this house, or I want to buy this house. I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to spend $20,000 on it, and then it's going to be worth this. The bank doesn't know if that's the case. The bank doesn't know if you know how to fix up a house. The bank doesn't know if you know how to hire contractors. The bank doesn't know if you're going to get the money and run off and go to Acapulco. That's just the truth of the matter. They don't know you. So they're going to require your credit, which means you're usually responsible, and your income to show if something goes wrong, then you can cover it with your income. That's what makes it difficult. And if you're investing, this becomes extra hard because they want to see an income in addition to what you actually do with your regular deals. I mean, with your regular income, your regular money. So you're paying your mortgage, you're paying your bills. What are you doing above and beyond that? Jamie asked, consistent deal flow is what I'm looking for. What does that look like? I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. Just give me to the end, Jamie, and I can talk to you about consistency. Slow approvals. That's the other thing with banks. They offer slow approvals. It usually takes 30 to 45 days to do a closing with the bank, because they have to go through title, appraisal, getting all of your stuff and checking all of that stuff. It's just a process. This works only after experience. Banks, one of the ways they protect themselves is by seeing that you have some experience. Have you done this before? What if you have no experience? It's like when you try to go get a job and they tell you you got a college degree, but you don't have any experience. And you say, well, I didn't get any experience because I was busy getting a college degree. So it's kind of a, chicken or the egg, which came first kind of situation. That's one of the things that happens with banks. These are good for long-term holds. Banks more than likely are good for commercial. That's what nobody talks about. Banks are really good for commercial deals, not so much quick turn. It's not necessary to go through a traditional bank with doing quick turn deals. Why you rarely start here is because most of the time you will not qualify. Even if you got good credit and you got good income, you need to have, in addition to both of those, you need to have a lot of savings. And that's going to be the other part that holds it up. So let's talk about a couple of non-traditional options you're in your toolbox that you can use. Commercial lenders. Commercial lenders are one of the best because here's the way commercial lenders work. They approve you once and then you're good for the year. They usually can say, okay, we'll look at your credit. We don't care about your income because we don't expect your income to pay this bill. So they usually want to see that you have half decent credit. It doesn't have to be great. And then they will say, okay, we can do a deal with you. And it depends on the deal, not you so much. They don't even look at you after they give you the pre-approval or the first look. Once they do that, they don't even look at you anymore doing deals. Private lenders are great because private lenders don't look at anything, but you have to do the legwork with private lenders. You have to set the deal up. You have to show them why it's profitable. You have to show them why it's going to be fast and they can make a good return. And you have to do everything in your power to get them their money back. And when you do, they will open up the floodgates. They will give you money. They will tell their friends who will give you money. Did you realize that people that usually have money hang out with other people that have money? They will give you money to put into other deals. And I'm not talking about when you go to a website and it says we're private lenders. I'm sure that's fine, and sure some people do that. I'm talking about individuals that were not loaning money before you came along. You tell them the terms and set it up, and then they give you the money based on those terms. Seller financing, another great way. It works exceptionally well. We use seller financing all the time. We can at this moment, we can usually pull about up to $2 million in private money that we can literally go to sellers and say, hey, we want to finance a deal. Partnership deals. This is another great way. Partnership deals, all of these require you to have a deal first. That is the big issue that most people don't see. They don't have a deal. They're trying to go and get lenders and tell them they're going to promise them the world when you don't know what you're going to get. So you got to start with these things, knowing these things, and then go into your deals. Okay. Funding that follows the deal, not your bank account. That is what we're looking for. Funding that follows the deal. The deal is what matters here. That's why your numbers, your credit, your income, all of that stuff is really not even secondary. It's really just off to the side if you know the right ways to set this up. So let's talk about buying properties without using your own cash. Now, before I get into this, I want to just say clearly, buying properties without your own cash is not the goal. It is just something you can use in the beginning. Once you start making some money, use some of your cash. It doesn't matter. If you believe your own hype, if you believe what you're telling these investors and saying, hey, I want to do this, I'm going to take your money and make this, put some of your money into the game, not for the investors, for yourself to do the deal faster, to get it done and get it out of the way. Because if you do it the right way, you're getting in, getting out of these deals, you're using quick turn, you're not going to be sitting in the deal very long. Usually we're sitting in the deal. If I'm sitting in the deal 90 days, that's a lot. I'm usually not sitting in a deal that long. Usually I'm sitting in the deal 20 days, 30 days, maybe 45 or 50 days. That's about it. Okay. Even in this climate, even in a slowing down climate, doesn't matter. Structure is greater than savings. Nobody cares about your savings because your savings can run out. Your deal structure is what matters. You got to learn to structure the deal properly. Terms matter more than price. Terms matter to the seller. Terms matter to the bank. Terms matter to everybody more than the price. The price is not as important. You can get a good price too, but the terms are going to matter much more. The biggest thing that's important to get you deal success is solving the seller's problem. Sellers have problems, and I'm going to talk to you briefly when we get into the questions. I'll talk to you briefly about the type of sellers we look for and the type of problems they have. Solving the seller's problem is what will make you money if you find the right properties. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Money flows to solutions. If you are providing a solution and getting a good number, money will flow to you. I have a student right now that had a deal. She did not know how she was going to close the deal. She didn't have the money. She was able to reach out in our network, and one of the other students came to her because the deal made sense, and they did the deal together, and they split $175,000 profit. And that's because they were able to work together, and the deal made sense. This strategy works even with low credit. Your credit is not the main factor. Now, what I will say is once you do a deal or two and you get some money, your credit is going to is going to be the thing that makes a difference. You got to use your credit. You got to get your credit established once you get past, I don't have any money. Everybody looks at, I don't have any money, and then they make some money and then they take it and spend it. Spend it on getting your credit in order so you can do more deals. Okay. An easy way Quick Turn can structure deals. Seller waits for their cash. That's one of the ways that we can structure deals. Sellers can wait for their cash. A lot of sellers, the way we find deals, they don't always want their cash right now, or they don't need their cash, I should say, right now. You can just ask them to wait for their cash. Using this exact process, you can get 0% financing. We get 0% financing on deals all the time, and we've gotten our students to get 0% financing. We get short-term financing with no payment. So no payment on the loan or while we have it or anything like that. They never check credit. Sellers never check credit. Now, you got to be a person of integrity. Just because they don't check credit doesn't mean, oh, I can screw this person, or oh, I don't have to pay them back, or oh, I can just do whatever. You want to do what you're supposed to do because, one, you should have integrity. And then two, at the same time, you want to have where people, when they deal with you, they have a good taste in their mouth after they dealt with you. Reputation is far more important than making a few dollars. Your reputation matters a lot more. The other thing with this is no down payment is typically required. When you negotiate with the seller, a lot of times you don't need down payment. So that's 0% financing, no payment, no credit check, and no down payment just by negotiating and talking with the seller. Commercial lender, the fastest path for beginners. Ask lenders, why do lenders even require down payments? And I talked about this because they don't trust you. And it's not that they don't trust you, they don't trust what you're telling them. You got to pitch this in a way that makes sense for them. I'll give you an example of this because this is how this plays in. Lenders don't like you to give them the risk. So let's say I go to a lender and a house is $100,000 right now. And I say, hey, lender, this house fixed up is worth $200,000. I need $20,000 to fix it up. So loan me $120,000 and then I'm going to buy it and fix it up and then I'll sell it and make $200,000. That is risky for the lender because you're asking them to give you $120,000 right now on a property that's worth $100,000. Now I know some of you are going to say, well, they're not going to give you the 20,000. You got to fix it up and then they'll pay you back. They still have to earmark that money and hold it for you so that when you pay, when you do the work, they got to give it to you. And they're at 100% on the house. So the house is worth 100,000. You're asking them to loan you 100,000. That's risky for them. Okay. You can de-risk your deals by making better deals. Let me give you an example of what this looks like. De-risking your deals means that instead of me buying that $100,000 house for $100,000 and then turning around and selling it for $200,000, I'm going to buy it at $60,000 and it's worth $60,000 today, and then I'm going to turn around and sell it for $100,000 or $105,000. I don't have to wait. Let's look at how that looks to a lender. You buy a house that's worth $100,000 right now as it stands. You're only asking me for $60,000. Even if you have no idea what you're doing, when you get this $60,000 from me, I have a house that's worth, it's secured by a house that's worth $100,000. It's lower risk to me as a lender. And then you're not fixing it up. You're just turning around and selling it. So yes, that's easy. Do I understand that you can just turn around and sell it? Yes, that's easy risk for me, for a lender. I would want a loan on that deal because I'm taking less risk compared to being at full value. And what if you tear the house up while you started the rehab and ran out of money, which is very common? Okay. Build relationships and they will give you the world. Yes, everything revolves around the deal. The deal is what makes your financing easier. It's what makes you more money. It's what makes you able to do the next deal. People don't focus on the deal enough. A lot of people are just happy to get some real estate and say, hey, I own a piece of real estate or I bought a rental property. That's like the most unimportant thing. That's the relationships are what matter. Okay. Works perfectly for quick turn acquisitions. Lenders love quick turn because they understand that we're buying it and getting out of it quickly, and then we're going to get their money back to them and then do it again on the next deal. Okay. Private lenders, I want to touch on this again. These are not lenders, but relationships. These are relationships. These are people. They are not lenders by trade. You're not going to talk to them like a lender. They're expecting you to be the expert and you to go to them and say, hey, this is what I'm offering. This is how much you'll make. This is how long it will take. This is where your money's going to be secure. So it's not just floating out in space. This is what matters. This will let them loan. This is what will allow them to loan you money and feel comfortable. They will not do it otherwise. There are many more private lenders than banks. There are literally millions of private lenders, and you just don't know it. You more than likely know a private lender. Now, they may not be willing to loan you money, and you might say to yourself, well, they're not going to loan me money. They're a tightwad. Show them how they can make money. Show them the benefit to them. Then they will talk. Then they look at you differently. They look at you as somebody that can make them money, not somebody who's asking them for something. And that's how you approach it. You can't go to them until you have a deal. I don't care if you are the best salesman. If I told you, oh, I'm going to find this deal and it's going to be amazing, and you're going to be able to do all this stuff with all the money you make, they don't care. Show them numbers, solid numbers on a real deal that you are working on. Then you can talk to them, not before. You get to set the terms. We have a very clear process. It's not complicated. You set the terms, you put it in writing, give it to them. They will go forward and you can close a deal. And this can happen in days. It's very fast. Okay. No credit or cash is needed with private lenders. Now, I'm not talking about a private lender website that says we are private lenders. I'm talking about relationships and how to find those relationships. And they're not hard. And I guarantee you, everybody has them. Okay. The real secret, nobody tells beginners. So if you're a beginner, listen up. Money chases good deals. Okay. There is an abundance of money out here for good deals. You have to get good. You have to get the skill set of finding good deals. Lenders care about equity, not you. No lender cares about your credit. No lender cares about your income. They only care because they're scared you're not going to do what you're supposed to do. They don't care about equity. I mean, they don't care about you. They care about the equity. Clean homes in good areas get funded fast. The deals that I'm talking about, these are not properties that are falling apart and hard to get to. And oh my goodness, this looks horrible. These are clean deals in good areas that make sense. Okay. You bring the opportunity, not the dollars. The dollars will follow from there. Okay. Your job is to find high equity sellers. What is a high equity seller? It is somebody who has a lot of equity in their property today, and then you're going to negotiate for some of that equity. Okay, if that makes sense. I'll give you an example of a deal. Now that my assistant put this together, I'm not sure that they put everything the way they should, but it should have a picture of a property here. Let's see. This property that I'm going to talk about, we got a lead from marketing. We market regularly. We got a lead from marketing. Somebody called in, said they were interested in selling the house. This gentleman was actually an 80-year-old gentleman. He bought a property for his kids and well, his son. His son died, and his son's family was living in the property, but because the son died, they decided to relocate and they were moving out of the property. So the gentleman was ready to sell. He said he did not want to keep the house. He did not want to rent it out. He was not interested in it. So this is the situation. We went to this seller and we said, we can buy this house. We bought this property at about 55 cents on the dollar. So about 55. So let's say it was $100,000. We bought it for, let's say 55,000. I'm not going to go into exact numbers. But we bought this property from this person and we got them to accept terms, meaning that we did not pay them right away. So we didn't come up with any down payment. We didn't come up with any interest payments. We didn't have any payments, and it was at 0% interest. The gentleman just wanted to get rid of the house and not have the responsibility. So he was very fine with accepting terms. Okay. The financing structure was that we kept the property for a short period of time. Once we were ready to sell it and once it sold, then we would pay him off and he would get his money. But we owned the property from day one and we structured it that way. We did do some cleanup. We did do some minor cleanup, just cleaning the house out. We did not fix it up or do any contractors or anything like that. When it was time to exit, we exited. It took us about 27 days to exit this property. And that when I say exit, that means getting it under contract and then turning around and selling the terms. We did not sell it in 27 days, but it took us about 27 days to find a buyer and actually buy the property. So that's how the exit worked. We got rid of the property quickly. We don't keep a buyer's list. We don't have a list of cash buyers. I sell to anybody and everybody that makes sense. Okay. That's the secret. The profit and the timeline breakdown. We made about on this particular deal. He didn't put the property picture in. I'll make sure he puts it in. Profit, we did about $60,000 on this deal. It was a little bit less, $57,000. Timeline, total deal was about 65 days. That was from when we bought the property to when we sold it. It was about 90 days if you count when we went through buying the property. So this is a $57,000 payday in 90 days. And that was just one deal. And we didn't put any time or effort into fixing it up. That allowed us to do more than one deal at a time. And we were able to use the same funding structure that we use all the time, one of the ones we talked about earlier, to do this deal. Now, I'm going to briefly talk about how long does it take to get to that level of getting deals like that. Get to the level of getting deals. There's no timeline as far as getting deals. They're going to come to you as you market, and you're going to. It depends on what you can negotiate with the seller. So that's the question. That's the answer to that. Now, let's really briefly, let me talk about how the bridge to commercial real estate, why funding your deals, your first deal matters. Okay. Builds confidence. You don't know if what your deal, you don't know how to do these deals. And one of the things that's going to be your biggest holdback or constraint is feeling like this is stupid. This doesn't work. I don't know why I did this, that kind of thing. Your first deal will build confidence in you that this works and you can do it, that you can do this on a consistent basis. That first deal is key to that. It also builds a track record. Once you can show lenders, banks, private lenders, commercial lenders that you can make money off of doing these types of deals, it builds a track record for them to say, okay, they've done it before. There's a good, strong chance they'll do it again. Okay. The next is it builds capital. It allows you to build capital. So if you're saying, I don't have credit, I don't have money to buy deals, once you do a deal, it will build capital for you. And that capital will allow you to go into a deal and hopefully get your credit in order after you do that deal. Hopefully put a little bit of money down if you need to, if that's the case on your next deal. But it gives you the capital you need to grow your business. Even if that goes into marketing and things like that, it builds skills to negotiate larger deals. Once you get comfortable negotiating deals with homeowners and sellers, it will allow you to negotiate even larger deals or multiple deals. One of our largest deals we did recently was 27 properties with the seller. We negotiated all 27 properties as one deal, and we bought 27 houses from one person. With the skill set of doing that is no different than buying one house, but the confidence level to say you have to speak to them in a way that, hey, this is what I'm going to do, this is what's going to happen, and follow through. And that gives you that confidence by doing deals. Our process that we look at is getting to from quick turn to commercial in a 12-month roadmap. And I've done this with a lot of students where they started, they had no experience buying houses. They bought a house, sold a house, or they're doing more than one, and they start looking for commercial opportunities because they learned the process, and then they can work with us in commercial. And that's something that's possible in a 12-month process. Does it happen every time in 12 months? Not every time. But the whole thing is that if you are farther along in 12 months than you were when you started, and you're on your way to getting to commercial, then you're better off. Okay. All right. So why most beginners fail, not because of money, but because of leads. And this kind of leads into what somebody was asking, I think. I don't remember who it was. Jamie, I think, was asking about consistent leads and things like that. Consistent leads and consistency are one of the biggest headaches with real estate. You can't get funded without a deal. There's no point in you getting funded without a deal. So you have to have a process to get funded, to get deals. Now, you can't get a deal without talking to sellers. So you have to get sellers reaching out to you and talking to you. Okay, that's one of the biggest things. You need high equity sellers. For what our process is, we specifically target high equity sellers. Now, you might be thinking that you've bought lists before. You've bought lists of people in foreclosures. You bought lists of people that were city code violations or taxes or something like that. And you do that because you're looking for a motivated seller. The truth of the matter is motivation is a feeling. People feel motivated today and they don't feel motivated tomorrow. You should not look for motivation. You should actually look for equity. Equity is what we trade in to buy houses without fixing them up and sell them. Look for high equity, and then the people that have motivation will call you. Now, a big part of this is leads. Leads are your lifeblood. If you're not getting leads, then it's going to feel like you're spinning your wheels. All I can tell you about leads is this, and this is the most truest statement that I've had since I've been doing real estate deals. Leads are important, and the way to get leads is to market. You have to market to high equity sellers, and they will call you. It can be very frustrating when leads aren't coming to you like you want them to, but I'm telling you this, that leads will come if you market correctly and you put it into the right areas and you're looking for the right type of opportunity. Leads will give you that consistency. We use direct mail, Mike. We use direct mail. We also have a process to do door knocking that we use. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Those are the two ways, because usually one of those two will bring you the most consistency with deals. Sometimes it takes a little bit. No, we do not do cold calling. I am completely against cold calling. It's hard. I don't like it, and it doesn't really work well, in my opinion. Cold calling can work, but it's a needle in a haystack kind of thing. I would much rather people just call me. Okay, that's easier, and it just makes sense. All right, without leads, no funding options matter. It doesn't matter if you can get $20 million if you can't get leads to buy property. Okay, so the fix for this, our $99 high equity seller sprint. So this is going to begin the process of teaching you how to go after leads. This is a process that we do. It's a $99 high equity seller sprint. The goal is to find and negotiate with 5+ high equity sellers in 14, it should say 14 days, not 10 days. In 14 days, we guide you step by step with this, okay? Daily messaging, scripts, call templates. We show you what to say when they call, how to kind of talk to them, and everything else. We're going to show you how to start the exact conversations, and we're going to use one of those two processes, either direct mail or we're going to use door knocking. Some people have done door knocking, some people have done direct mail and had pretty good results. And those are the two ways that we trust most importantly. Now, I know what you're thinking. Door knocking is kind of scary. It is very effective. Okay, that's what I'll tell you. Door knocking is extremely effective. If I had to choose between the two, I would always choose direct mail. Biggest thing is you get accountability, you get targets and check-ins. So it's going to give you accountability. We're going to expect you to do this stuff. We're going to expect you to follow up. You're going to get targets of where you should be at in this process, what that looks like, and you're going to get check-ins. So we're going to show you what to do, where you at, what's slowing you down so you can be successful. The goal with this is to land 5 or more real conversations with motivated sellers that have equity. I don't want to talk to a motivated seller that has no equity. That's like talking to is why would I want to, if somebody has a house worth $100,000, they owe $99,000, why would I want to talk to them? There's not a deal to be made there. If they owe nothing or very little money and they're interested in selling, I want to talk to them. And before you say there aren't any sellers like that, I guarantee you there's a whole marketplace of sellers that own a property free and clear, and they want to sell it. They just don't know. They don't want to go the traditional route, and they're looking. So this is the process. So who the sprint is for? Beginners who want their first deal funded fast. If you're struggling to find deals, if you're unsure how to talk to sellers, if you're nervous to negotiate and you don't feel comfortable negotiating, if you're unsure if they're doing it right, if you're doing what this is required right, then this is for you. Anyone who wants a predictable starting point, this is a good place to start, and it will get you success. Santos, this isn't for you because you got this process, so you already know. What what you get with the $99 process, this $99 process, you're going to get daily actions that you can take each day. You're going to get daily scripts that you can use when you're talking to sellers. Okay. You're going to get templates and examples of what it looks like to deal with these sellers. And this is not typical. Just wait for somebody to call you from a foreclosure. We don't deal with foreclosures. We don't deal with tax liens, any of that stuff. You're gonna do a couple of live role plays. We're gonna show you how to do live role play in this, okay? And then finally, you're gonna get support from Art and Aisha. That's me and my wife. We're gonna show you kind of how to do this and go through this thing. And this is all in a $99 program. And the goal is to get you 5 conversations in 14 days. So basically in 2 weeks. That is the goal. And most importantly, is that we're gonna do this, and it's got a earn your money back guarantee. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. The goal of this is to stop you from overthinking. It's to talk to real sellers and get comfortable talking to people. You can't do a deal until you talk to a person. You're going to learn what to say. You're going to build muscle memory of how to do this. No, it is not $99 a month. It is a one-time $99 investment. And you're going to create real opportunities to fund your first quick turn deal. You're going to do this this is a starting point. This is not meant to make you millions of dollars or anything like that at $99. It is to get you this is to get you started with real estate, talking to sellers and being comfortable talking directly with sellers and how to find those sellers. We're going to show you a process that's going to get you in a conversation very quickly. Okay. And the best thing about this is that if you do this process, so Jamie asked, who is this for again? It's for anybody that could use this experience. If you're not comfortable talking with sellers, if you don't know how to find high equity sellers, this is going to start you on that process. Okay. It's kind of an intro of working with us. Now, I agree. I understand it's $99. So it's like, I don't know if I want to take that gamble. We put a guarantee with this. It is called the Earn Your Money Back Guarantee. If you start this process and you don't find success, but you do everything that is involved in the process, you will be able to earn your money back or earn a credit toward working with us full time, either one. So there is little to no risk to you. If it does not work and you do all the steps, you have to complete everything, then we will see you. We will follow the steps. In 14 days, you do everything that we're telling you to do. If it doesn't work or if you don't get the results, then you can earn your money back and get your money back or get a credit toward our larger programs and working with us more of an ongoing basis. Okay. That is what we're offering. Now, this is a process. The goal is to do I need an LLC? You do need an LLC to do business. You don't need one to start. That's what I'll say. You don't need one to start. If you are, let's say you're talking to a seller and you come to an agreement to buy a house, then before you buy that house, you need to buy it in your LLC's name. You don't need to buy it in your own name. I would not suggest that. But that is the goal, to get you started in this process, and then we'll kind of walk you through the rest of it. You don't need an LLC to get started. You would need an LLC to buy property because, one, it's going to protect you. You don't want to put yourself out where you get sued or anything like that. And two, it's going to help you with getting the lenders. A lot of lenders don't like to learn. A lot of the lenders that we talk about don't like to loan to individuals. They like to loan to investors or companies. So that's another part that matters. But this is something that you can very easily do. Okay, so having said that, I'm going to turn this off right now, and then I am going to open this up for questions. So if you are interested in this program, if this is something that you are interested in learning about, seeing if it makes sense for you, then comment just what software is needed for purchase. There is no software needed for this. There's no software that you need initially to get started. We do use a CRM if you work with us, but that's later on. You don't need that right now. If you want this, just say, is it best to get LLC and use the credit under? No, you don't need to do that. That I know everybody talks about business credit. Yolanda asked, is it best to get an LLC and use the credit under the LLC? You don't need to do that. You don't need to get business credit set up and go through all of this stuff. I'm sure there's somebody that does business credit and they get $500,000 and they can just borrow that money. Here's the thing with me. I'm a realist. I am not I want people to be successful because ultimately I want them to invest with us in commercial real estate. Um, if you go out and borrow $500,000 in commercial credit, you are still on the hook for commercial credit. You still got to pay it back. You're more likely going to hurt yourself getting borrowing money that you don't know what to do with yet. You need to learn a process to make money first, and then you can go out and borrow money when you need it for your business, not just to have money. I understand the allure of having money. It's in a moment. You get money for a second and you're happy, but then you got to pay it back for the next 20 years. That's not the goal. Learn to make money first, and you don't need a lot of money. Yes, you gradually build. You don't need a ton of money to start. You need to get started and then learn what to do so you can be successful. If this is something that's interesting to you, I'm going to put the link to the funnel here. You can check it out. And that is to start on the $99. Like I said, it's $99 to get started. How much is the full program? What if it doesn't work? So if I understand your question, the $99 sprint, if you follow the steps and it doesn't work, then you can earn your money back. You can get your money back from that and it didn't work. I will tell you this, most people, or you can get a credit toward working with us full time. Our process works. Majority of people that get into our program and follow what we're doing have success. I cannot give you a timeline as far as saying you're gonna have success in 2 weeks or something like that. This is real estate. Real estate is not a 1 week, 2 week kind of thing. It takes time. You got to buy the house, you got to sell the house. It takes time. But how hands-on are you guys? So we are very hands-on with our team. This $99 sprint is a do-it-yourself. We're gonna give you all the training, we're gonna give you the videos. You have to do the steps. The reason I say that, and that's important, because this is kind of a gateway to working with us. If you can't do these steps in this $99 program, you probably should not work with us. And that's what I'm going to be honest with everybody about, because no matter how much hands-on somebody is, if you're not willing to do the work, I've got people that have been in my program and they'll say, Art, I haven't gotten to this part yet because life has gotten in the way. I get it. Life gets in the way. That's just life. I understand that. I have no problem with that. But your excuse doesn't put you any closer to your goal. If you're not willing to do what it takes to get there, then you're not willing to get there. It might not be the right time for you. So we do work with you when you work in our program. The $99 sprint is more of a do it yourself because it's going to give you everything you need to get started. And it's kind of a litmus test for us to see that you are actually doing this stuff and actually able to follow through and do what we're telling you to do. It's not hard. It's not difficult. What if you did Santos? If you did all the steps, then you should be having some success. I know if you've got something, I can talk to you about it. If you've got questions on something, I'll talk to you about it in a second. But these steps normally work fine. They normally work fine. And if you're not having success with them, the best thing I can tell you, Santos, is that you haven't done enough of it, or we can look at your process to see what's missing. Because when you pick a market, when you go into that market and invest, when you market to those people, you will get calls. You will get calls and you will find success with it. The problem is a lot of people never even get to that point. They start and they're like, oh, I don't know if this works. And they go off because they see another shiny object. And I get that, but that's not the way you're successful. Success takes persistence. You have to work at something and keep going at it. When I did my first marketing campaign, I didn't get, I think I got 1 or 2 calls when I did my first marketing campaign. And I pushed through and did my second marketing campaign. And my second marketing campaign, I ended up doing 3 or 4 deals. If I had given up on that first one, I never would have made it. Persistence is what matters. Persistence is what matters. I can give you the full process, and if you don't follow it, then you're not going to see success. And it's ridiculous to say, well, how come I didn't see success? I did half of what you said, or I did most of what you said. I did some of what you said. You don't want that. I would rather you not waste your time getting into a program that you're not going to follow through. But if you're going to follow through, if you're serious, then how can an FHA buyer buy a property that's being quick term because of the 90? So there are some ways to get around the FHA, but I'm not suggesting get around FHA. And you don't have to get around FHA. You can work without FHA buyers. FHA, for those of you that don't know, are government-backed loans, and they have very strict requirements. Depending on how you're setting the deal up, you can get around FHA, or you can find buyers that are not FHA. And there are a lot of buyers that don't do FHA. There are a lot that do. And we have a process for that. So not everybody that we sell to is an FHA buyer. That's the easiest answer I can give you, Mike. So that's the process. This is the process. You start with us. Start at the $99 sprint. Here's the link again to check it out. You can read it. Now, there are two ways to do this sprint. One is door knocking. The other is direct mail. If you do the direct mail add-on, it's going to change the process a little bit. If it's for people that don't feel comfortable door knocking, or they don't feel they can do door knocking. So the answer is none. How many deals could one make before the LLC is needed? You need an LLC to close and buy the first deal. You need to start with an LLC from day one. You can start the process and get a deal under contract, but you don't need to close that deal in your name. If you close that deal in your own name, you are going to put yourself at high risk for a lot of stuff. I don't suggest it. Is that an issue for, because you keep asking about the LLC, is that an issue for you doing the LLC, or is that something that you don't want to get an LLC, or is that, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but that's usually not an issue. You just have to get an LLC before you close. For my billing address, but it only no wanted to know. Hold on. Okay, wait. Is the only difference between quick turn and wholesale the paperwork? No, it is completely different. Wholesaling is when you're buying a property, you put it under contract, and then you sell the contract. What we are doing, quick turning, we are buying the property. So we own the property. Nicole LLC, or whatever it will be called, just giving you an example, would own that property and then sell that property. And wholesaling, you're selling typically to cash buyers, because you can only sell to cash buyers. We sell to anybody and everybody. We don't have a list of this is who we can only sell to. We sell to everybody. It's small differences, but it makes a huge difference in what you are doing. Okay. So let me go back. I'm trying to enroll, but it's asking me for billing address, but it only allows for my phone number, and also the drop down for payment information does not drop down. I can send screenshot if needed. Send me that, Chris. I'll give you my email, or an email to send it to, and then we'll get you set up. I'll get you set up quickly, so that won't be a problem. Send me a screenshot or whatever you need from there. Sometimes when can we get on a call? I don't have access to the program. You don't have access to the program. How do you not have access to the program, Santos? Let me see what is going on with you, Santos. And then we can see what. So, Nicole, should we establish a relationship with private harmony lenders prior to starting? No, you won't be able to, because the bride property, if it will take too long. No, it does not take long. No, you do not establish a relationship first. Nobody wants to hear from you if you don't have a deal. I talked about that earlier. Just another thing to note is that for all of you all that are in this call, if you got on the call late, I will put the replay of this call up tomorrow. You'll get an email with the replay of this call. Because that will help, that'll help you see all of the process. Let me go back, because there were a couple of questions. FHA buyer, we talked about that. How many deals before the LLC? No. Is the only difference between quick turn and wholesale the paperwork? No. No, you don't establish with hard money. I just want to make sure I'm answering everybody's question. So that's the biggest thing to look at with this. What to do with, how to make these deals work. It is not wholesaling. It is completely different from wholesaling. It's much easier than wholesaling, and it's much more stable. I was a wholesaler for several years. I did wholesaling. I made some money. I probably made about $40,000 or $50,000 wholesaling. And it was easy and fast. The market was hot at the time. I've been doing quick turn for over 10 years, and I can tell you that quick turn, my profits are greater per property, and I have a lot more control. Okay, Santos, I'll send me an email, and then I'll take a look. If you haven't already, send me an email and I'll take a look. Mike, what type of percentage will the lenders take per deal? They don't take a percentage; they take an interest rate. So just like a regular lender, and they're not hard money, so their interest rates are very competitive. So they don't take a big chunk of the deal. They sometimes will take points. That won't matter as much because we've got a lot of space in our deals, and we actually calculate that out when we're doing the offers and making the deals, put the deals together so that their funding costs are included in our deal. So that's not a big thing. The other thing, you guys, if you're interested, you can check out is Land Trust X. I'm going to send the link to that really quick. Land Trust X is a platform that allows you to sell pieces of a property. It's another way we're starting to sell our properties through Land Trust X. You can take a look at that. You can sign up to Land Trust X for free, but learn about it and see. There's a thing called Investor Partners or Property Partners you can check out, and you can learn about it there, and you can sign up. It's free, and you can learn the process with that. But this is the best way to get started, the lowest risk. It's not going to take an arm and a leg to get started, and you can see some results. Okay. Jack, how long does it really take to get deals as you described? So, Jamie, here's the answer very simply. There is no BS at all. There is no way of knowing how long it's going to take an individual. I can't give you a date and say, hey, you're going to have a deal in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. What's going to be the process is to get set up, get your marketing out, and then see marketing results come in. When I first started, it took me a couple of months to get my first deal, but the way we do this, it's an ongoing process and it's a funnel. So you're going to get more than one deal kind of coming to you as you get deals going. I've had some students that the first time they did marketing, they got their first deal and did great. I've had other students that put out marketing and they didn't get deals for a couple of months and it took time. Let me ask you this. If you were to put out, let's say, a couple of bucks and for marketing, that we can close fast. So the marketing is the advertising. Let me answer Jamie's question really quick, Nicole, and I'll come back to yours. The best thing I can tell you with the marketing, Jamie, and everything that you to get a deal. Yes, you want to get a deal. Yes, you want it to happen fast. If you have a chance to make 10x what you invest to get a deal, do you care if it doesn't happen right away in the first 2 weeks? If I told you you could make 10 times what you invest doing deals, but you don't have an idea of how long it would take, would that stop you? Because that's business. That's business. When I start a car dealership, I don't know how long it's going to take me to sell a car, but I know if I set everything up the right way, I'm going to sell cars. Same way with real estate. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get to a deal, but I know if I set everything up the right way and I'm ready, then I will get deals. And it only takes one deal to recover everything you've invested. That's usually the case. I haven't seen a student yet that has made less on their first deal than what they put out to get started, if that makes sense. And that's the best answer I can give you, Jamie. That's a straightforward answer because I would appreciate a straightforward answer. Hope that works. Nicole, is the advertising basically letting the seller know that we can close fast? No, it is more to it than that. It is about finding the right people to advertise to. You can throw advertising money to everybody and waste tons of money. But if you can find the right people in the right circumstance to throw money to, not the circumstance, but just they have what you want, you will make more money without spending a ton of money on marketing. And when I say a ton of money, I can spend $30,000 to $50,000 a month on marketing. Now, that's not coming from my pocket. That's coming from profit that I've made on deals, but I know I'm going to get a really nice return because I'm using the same process that works if I'm spending $1,000 as it works on $50,000. The only difference is I'll get more deals, more flow. Okay. All right, guys. So we are at the hour. So we're going to cut it off here. I hope I've answered your questions. I'm going to put this link up one more time. If you are interested in starting the 99-day sprint is where I would suggest you start. And you can kind of see that process work, get started. If you upgrade to, once you sign up for the $99 sprint, there's an upgrade to the direct mail process. And that upgrade will allow you to get the steps for direct mail. And it's a little bit more, but it's still very effective. So that's your choice. Both of them work. You just have to choose which one. Okay, Santos, no problem. I'll take a look at it. Mondays are my busy day, so I can't really look at stuff. But I will take a look at your email and we'll see what's going on and I'll get you set up or whatever I need to do to work with you. So we'll get you together. All right. So I hope that is the best for everyone. I hope everybody's gotten something from this. I hope you've learned something. I will put the replay to this tomorrow. You'll get it in an email. And I hope to see you guys in the sprint. I hope to see you guys working with us. And as always, I wish you the best. Happy hunting. Have a great night, everyone. Talk